Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Bill has been special ordered. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 288, Sales and Use Tax Baby Products Exemption. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
The amendment adds sponsors. Move the amendment.
Question before the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Recognizing gentleman from St. Mary's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have an amendment at the desk. Amendment 653721/1.
Amendment number 1.
So be considered reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So I agree with the intent of this bill. I intend to vote for it. Reducing sales tax on baby products seems to be a really good idea. I know families throughout our state could really utilize a tax break. But one of the biggest costs to families nowadays is gas prices. Just recently ran some polling. Inflation is the top concern, not only through the nation, but our own state. So a lot of people don't realize that back in 2013, General Assembly connected the gas tax to the Consumer Price Index, CPI. This is also, this amendment, if you want to look it up, it's House Bill 144. Because in the fiscal note there, it's $37.5 million tax increase that's coming down on our citizens this July 1st. With gas prices rising more than 30 cents in the last month, with what's going on abroad in Ukraine and with Russia, I think a $37.5 million tax increase on fuel costs is too much for Maryland families. And look, I think this is a low estimate. I called the fiscal note writer of that bill. That's figured at 4.6%. Well, inflation last month was at 7.5%. The prices are going up. If we're going to cut taxes on Maryland families, I think it starts at the gas pump. I think they would really appreciate that. With that, Madam Speaker, thank you. I move the amendment.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman. Talbot.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand in support of the amendment and the gentleman's reason for bringing it. We live in unprecedented times, at least in modern history. Even before Russia's aggression, we know that the supply chain is stressed. We know that inflation is at time higher than what it was in 1980, the rate with which inflation is occurring. And so I remember maybe my freshman or sophomore year in 2015 or 2016, I put a bill in basically saying we're going to put a sticker on the gas pump that shows the real dollars about how much gas costs, how much of that percentage of gas cost are the taxes that we pay. Now, the bill didn't pass, but the rationale remains that citizens should have a right to know how much government is collecting by way of taxes in relationship to the cost of goods, the cost of gas. Now, as we sit here today, we don't have to have that debate because we know that inflation is at all-time highs, and we know that what's happening in our world today demands an off-ramp. Now, unlike what we did with the minimum wage, which was we said that the Board of Public Works under unprecedented situations can halt the minimum wage increase, how we passed this bill before I came into the legislature was we said we're just going to attach it to inflation. We're going to remove the legislature's ability to have any debate or discussion of this during the interim. And so we leave it to the citizens to pay for our inability to make these decisions on the fly as needed. The good news is we stand here today with the opportunity to do two things. One, make a statement that we support our citizens by way of keeping taxes low when it matters at a time when the legislature can act It is the off-ramp. This amendment is the off-ramp. And then we're saying, too, that not only do we support exemptions for baby products, for different things that are very important to families on low income, families that are trying to raise children, we're also trying to say that if you interviewed and asked those same citizens why they liked this bill, they would have liked that amendment even better. And so with that amendment, you are saying to the citizens of Maryland that we're not cutting taxes indiscriminately. In fact, what we're doing is we're holding the tax revenue percentage the same that it was last year, but what we're not going to do is pass a significant tax increase during this legislative session when we have control of that decision making. I think that this amendment not only stands on its own as a bill, and I hear the legislature often say, well, we have this bill, and the bill is going to come. But what it's saying is, within context of these priorities of tax cuts that we're making, that tax cut policy package should also include holding our citizens harmless during this particular time in our country's history, in Maryland's history. I think we should admit at least some of the flaws that came when we passed this bill originally before I became a legislator, and that we did not give the legislature the ability to off-ramp at these times. And I believe, frankly, that if we did have that off-ramp, if that was put in this bill originally with CPI, that this would be the scenario where we would have said to the Board of Public Works or whatever the legislature would have created, this is the time where we would ask for the off-ramp to allow relief for the citizens. To the maker of the amendment, thank you for bringing it. I think it's the right spot to have this conversation, and I think it can easily be a bipartisan supported amendment because it speaks to the overall principle that we're trying to help citizens during these times. And thank you, Madam Speaker. I support the amendment.
Floor Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, I urge you to resist this amendment. As the maker of the amendment mentioned, this is another bill which the Ways and Means Committee is considering, House Bill 144. This is not the time to make a decision about a different tax completely unrelated to the bill before us. This bill is about helping families deal with the financial costs of having a newborn baby. This is about very specific targeted relief. There is no relation to the motor fuel tax, and this shouldn't be part of this discussion. There is a way to have this discussion. It's with a public hearing, it's with public input, it's through the committee process. I urge you to vote against this amendment. Thank you.
The question before the
Madam Speaker.
gentleman from Colby.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. One of the greatest economists in American history who taught at the University of Chicago said it well. He said, inflation is a tax. Inflation is a tax. And we have the highest rate of inflation since Jimmy Carter here in the United States and certainly in Maryland. And we have an opportunity with this amendment, Madam Speaker, to help working families in Maryland who may have children, some may not, but all probably use their vehicles to drive places. They're going to save a lot more if we get rid of the CPI automatic increase on gasoline that was passed a number of years ago. We have an opportunity to fix this problem right now. People are really hurting in this state from the policies passed by the Democrat Party at the national and state level. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. And it's important that we say it the way it is. This is a simple policy change, a common sense policy change. Common sense. We have a budget surplus, ladies and gentlemen, of what is it? $4.6 billion. We can do this. We can do this. And we should do this. And so for all those reasons, I support this common sense amendment to help working families of Maryland be able to afford to live in this state by using their vehicles and not get the shock at the pump every time they go there that the gas prices keep going up because of these kinds of policies. Thank you.
Speaker.
Gentleman from Baltimore and Hartford.
Yes, I rise to
County.
support this amendment, and I think you all will understand, just like me, the simple numbers. It was costing me a little over 2 years ago about $40 to fill my gas tank up. Now, the other day I filled it up, it costs $65. If you're a young family with a baby and you're filling up once or twice a week, that is a large sum of money that you can use to buy diapers. A matter of fact, it's much greater than this tax credit could ever be. So I support this amendment because when a family is looking to lose $50, $25 every week out of their paycheck to pay taxes, to pay extra money on fuel, not just the taxes, but the extra money, that money could go a lot further if it was staying in the grocery store, if it was feeding their families, if it was diapering their children. So yes, I do support this tax cut and this amendment because it is a major, major change from what we have been paying out of our pockets to fuel companies, so, and to the state of Maryland and to the feds. I think it's a very important amendment. I thank the gentleman for bringing it, and I think we should all support it. Thank you.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? Roll call.
Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker. To explain my vote.
Gentleman from Frederick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just to explain my vote, this might be the only time on the House floor we have a chance to vote on this. Hopefully not, but it probably will be. So anybody who's voting no right now is voting for a tax increase. This is not trying to...
Are you explaining your vote? You
Yes, ma'am.
mentioned anybody. Your vote, you got to explain.
So my vote that was a no needs to be a yes so that I don't have a tax increase. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Gentleman from Anne Arundel to explain his vote.
Thank you,
In
Madam
front.
Speaker. Colleagues, it was Ben Franklin that said, don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today. And I voted for this amendment. This is a very smart amendment that brings relief immediately. And I know that we're doing this for baby products, but I promise you, if you were to poll any mother or father right now, would you rather we cut your price of gas or diapers? I'm pretty sure they're going to say gas because that's where it hurts the most. All of these parents are putting their kids into their car and driving around and paying twice as much today than they were a year ago. That hurts. Sometimes you can't decide not to buy gas. You'll have to do it in order to meet your kids' needs or meet your family's needs. And unfortunately, we just lost the opportunity to provide relief to millions of Marylanders because we want to kick it down the road for this promise that we'll fix it tomorrow, which rarely happens. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The gentleman from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Body, I think there's a lot more impact of the CPI being tied at the gas pump. It's felt in the grocery store, the price of milk and eggs and all necessities that people of low income or seniors are experiencing. So the increase is not just at the gas pump, it's actually going to every single necessity that we need in our household. So I hope, I'm voting green on this bill because I think it's a good tax relief, but I hope many of you would reconsider your vote. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the gentlelady from Carroll.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise this, I'm explaining my vote. This bill, we haven't really said exactly what it is, but the bill is about baby bottles and bottle nipples and car seats. Not about diapers, but baby bottles, nipples, and car seats to exempt them from the sales tax. And while that's nice, it's a $2.5 million hit to the budget, which is like a very, very teeny little amount. I don't think it's going to affect anyone's life very substantially. I have two new grandchildren. I can tell you the maybe $2 that they save on these bottles and nipples is not going to really change their life. But the sales tax on gas right now that's going up because the price of gas is going up, and the sales tax on that accordingly is going to affect my children and grandkids' lives because filling up a tank is very expensive. This is probably the only time we're going to get to vote on this to relieve us on the sales tax on gasoline, which will affect our children, our grandchildren, much more than baby bottles and nipples and taxes on sales tax on car seats, the couple dollars that might be saved over that. So that's why I'm putting my vote up right now, green, on relieving us from the sales tax on gasoline. Thank you.
Gentleman from Talbot.
Speaker, I just want to explain my vote. You know, I'm voting for this amendment. You know, the government is driving the price, and the people are having to pay the price, and this is our chance, I see it as a chance, to provide some relief. I can't tell you how many gas pumps I've come to where there's a picture of the president saying, "I just did that." It's our chance. This is our chance to send a message to the people that we're aware of what's going on, and to send an answer to what President Biden's doing. Thank you.
Clerk will take the call. The amendment fails. Clerk will read the next bill.